Eagles. All right. We're going to do a quick overview of week 14. And then after that, we're going to talk about our team, what's going on, and the narrative that I hear from media, from our fans, from every which way after the game. Okay? So, week 14, let's look at it. It was, I keep forgetting to switch this from just looking at the Eagles to looking at everything. So let me look at everybody. Okay, so here we go. Where was Thursdays? Okay, so we start off Thursday. The Lions beat the Cowboys. Then we move into the weekend games. The Titans beat the Browns. Seahawks beat the Falcons. Jaguars beat the Colts. Vikings beat the Commanders. Bills beat the Bengals. Saints beat the Bucks. Steelers beat the Ravens. Dolphins beat the Jets. Broncos beat the Raiders. Rams beat the Cardinals. Packers beat the Bears. Texans beat the Chiefs. Chargers beat the Eagles. Okay? Out of those, some notables. We lost, obviously. That's notable. We could have won that game in overtime. The Chiefs lost. The Bears lost. The Bucks lost. And I think that's the only other notable game, really. Oh, no, the Steelers beat the Ravens. So that put the Ravens out of the playoff picture for now. The Bills did come back and beat the Bengals. The Bengals almost beat them. But two interceptions. Some of the same story that we hear with the Eagles is, those two interceptions that Joe Burrow threw. However, and the interceptions that Mahomes threw. I really don't have much to say about week 14. The playoff picture right now is what it is. There's a couple of weeks left with very little wiggle room for some of the top teams because they're so far ahead that they're in the playoffs regardless. It's just seeding now. It's just seeding. What I want to now do is go into the Eagles, the narrative, and also how I cannot find any consistency across the league on these narratives. Okay? You got Joe Burrow, who essentially did what Hurts and Mahomes did, is give the game away on the turnover battle. 2 interceptions. One was a pick six. The other one was that play after the very next play where he threw it and got picked. But I don't hear a single Bengals fan. And don't get, and we're gonna dive deeper into this, right? Because I know what you're saying right now. Joe Burrow was way better. He throws the ball better. Okay, we'll get to that. I don't hear a single Chiefs fan saying bench Mahomes for his 3 turnovers and no touchdowns. I don't hear these calls. I don't hear the narrative that they need to be benched, they need to be traded, they're the problem for the team, they are horrible, blah, blah, blah. You don't hear that, okay? So for Joe Burrow, now we're going to break it down. For Joe Burrow, it's going to be, but do you see his stats? Do you see how great he throws the ball? Do you see how he elevates his team? Okay, he had a bad game. Okay, let's put that into context for Joe Burrow. Again, I already said because he was hurt for so much of this season, we're really not going to put this season all on him, their entire record, because he was gone for most of it. But we do have bodies of work before that. Joe Burrow has missed the playoffs, not just this year, but other years. Okay? Where he was playing, where he was available, where he didn't win enough games to get him into the playoffs. I don't hear a single person saying bench Joe, put in Flacco or whoever the backup is at the time, trade Joe, do this, this, or that, or the other. And he's missed the playoffs. We're not talking about going to the playoffs and losing. We're not talking about going to the Super Bowl and losing. We're not talking about going to the Super Bowl, winning it, and then having an off year. We're talking about missing the playoffs entirely. And I don't want to hear about it's his defense. I don't care. It's a team sport. You got a defense on your team and you got an offense on your team. If one is doing well and the other one's not doing so great, you end up with what you got a lot of times. Or guess what? You can will yourself to the playoffs even with a bad defense, but make it to the playoffs a la Hurts. I don't hear a single person talking about bench Patrick Mahomes or put in whoever or do this or do that. You know why? More so than Joe, the resume. 10 years in the playoffs. Always having the Arrowhead Invitational. 5 times in the Super Bowl, winning 3 of them. He's got the body of work to where it'd be absolutely absurd to call for his head, to call to bench him because he's got the body of work. That sounds kind of familiar to me. Jalen Hurts might not have the 10 years. He hasn't even been in the league that long. But the 7 straight AFC championships, Jalen Hurts hasn't been in the league that long. But over every other QB besides Mahomes, guess what he has? 2 Super Bowl appearances. 1 win, 1 loss against the league's boogeyman, Mahomes. Okay? Mahomes is having one of the worst years of his career, if not the worst year of his entire career. His team is 6-7. Ours is 8-5. I don't hear anything about this rubbish with Mahomes. You don't hear it. What is wrong with everybody? Why is there no consistent narrative? Why is there no consistent talk? Why do our fans and our own media, like the guys who are paid to cover just our team, like, every team has their own people, their own radio station, their own local TV broadcast and all that. Why do I not hear any of these narratives from them, from these other bad quarterbacks? Let's stretch it even further. I don't hear anything about Lamar being benched or replaced. Lamar has not sniffed the Super Bowl. Lamar's team is not even in the playoffs this year. This guy's won 3 MVPs. Or is it 2 or 3? I can't remember. You don't hear anything about that. You don't hear anything about their fans. Well, you do sometimes hear about their fans talking about how he's a Ferrari in the regular season and Pinto, broke down Pinto in the postseason. You do hear that, similar to Dak. Dak is great in the regular season and terrible in the postseason. But you don't hear him saying put in the backup, right? Or he's the problem, even though sometimes he is a problem. He's doing too much. He's out there throwing too much instead of giving it to his running back. Similar narrative as the Eagles, where we think our back should get it more. Why isn't Will Shipley getting more runs? Why isn't Tank Bigsby getting more runs? Why isn't A.J. Dillon getting more runs? Why isn't Saquon getting more runs? I just name them all because we have 4 backs. There's no disrespect to Saquon. We know he's amazing. We see that he can still do what he's been doing if given the right opportunity. There's no disrespect to putting in some of these other backs or putting them in at the same time. What you're doing is just giving the defense something different to look at, something that they don't expect, something that they are not sitting in their offices training for intensely. Listen, X-team, Saquon Barkley, how many times do we need to play 2024 for you? How many times do we need to play the film of what Saquon was doing to us in 2024? Don't allow it. No matter what, don't allow it. Okay? That's what every team is prepared for. Not only is our O-line not as strong and not creating the holes, but every single team is ready for it. Why do you think all these other teams still are producing with running? Either they don't have the film or they don't have the worry about their running back putting their team on posters or putting their team on highlight reels for the next 20 years, jumping over them backwards. They don't have that worry. So the run game is more fluid. It can happen. They're not focused. They're not focusing their attention and have the formula ready, the blueprint ready. So you put in some of your other backs to give them a different look, to give to confuse the defense. I mentioned this before. In the last video where they lined up two, and the defense was like, "What the hell do we do? Well, we ain't never seen this." So they're scrambling to try to figure out which back is getting it, and Jalen throws it and confuses everybody. But we're not on that right now. We're not on the Saquon and everything else train. We're on the Jalen Hurts train right now. I don't hear Joe Burrow. I already talked about Joe Burrow. I don't hear calls for Josh Allen. And you say, wait a minute now. Josh Allen is the reason why they win. He goes Superman. Okay. He goes Superman. What has his Superman got you? He's never been to the Super Bowl. He might get there this year because that's my prediction that he will, alongside the Eagles, the Bills-Eagles. But he hasn't gotten there yet. Yet. And he has lost games this year to inferior teams than the Bills. The same way you could say with the Eagles. Although we've lost to some quality teams. We lost to the Chargers. We lost to the Bears, who are a great team. We lost to the Cowgirls, who, believe it or not, have kind of righted their ship. That's 3 of our 5 losses. We lost to the Giants, but that was just because we were stupid. And we gave away the game to the Broncos, which we shouldn't have lost, but they're a quality team. So we have quality team losses, except for, really, in my opinion, that Giants loss. 4 quality team losses. Let's really quickly go to the Josh Allen losses. Okay? Shall we? All right. I'm looking down here through the schedule. The Patriots loss was a good one. We see the Patriots are number 1 over there in the AFC, so we can't count that. The Falcons, who are 3 and something. 3 and whatever the record is. I think they have 3 wins. One of them is the Bills. I don't hear nobody calling for Josh Allen's head. They lost to the Dolphins. And mind you, these people are eliminated. The Dolphins. Oh, are the Dolphins eliminated? No, I think they're 6 and... Yeah, well, they're not eliminated, but they're not in... They don't have a seed right now because they have the same record as the Chiefs, 6 and 7. They lost to the Dolphins, 30-13. Okay? Who else did they lose to? They lost to the Texans, but I think that was a good loss. Okay, so they lost to 2 bad teams where we have lost to 1. I don't hear anybody calling for Josh. I don't hear anybody talking about, so Nick Wright did say this. He says this was his comparison for that. He says Josh Allen is the kind of QB who you live and die on whether or not he's going to be Superman, and his 4 picks come along with his 6 touchdowns. So you just know that you got that. And he said that Jalen Hurts' marker is he doesn't turn the ball over, and he protects the ball and he wins, okay? So because he turned the ball over, this is out of character for him. Okay, this is one game, one outlier, where, of course, I'm disappointed with how he performed. I don't like it. I think it was a bad performance with turning the ball over so much, but I explained that a lot of that wasn't him. Wasn't just him. Where pop-ups happen, a la Mahomes with Kels, or a Smitty slips, or he gets the ball and really should have gone down, but everybody has the ability to nitpick things that happen on the field when they're not on the field, when the pressure's not on them. There's a saying in war that all your plans go out the window when that first bullet goes past your head, right? You planned it, you schemed it, but now you're in the firefight. Some soldiers still have cool heads. Let's get straight. But a lot of people just think, wow, now I'm about to die. I got bullets going off. I got bombs going off. What do I do? It's a different scenario when you're in it versus when you're watching it. I watch these film breakdowns, and again, I have no problem saying this. I didn't watch the video, but I saw the thumbnail of Acho talking about that Jalen Hurts is the Eagles' problem, and film study you gotta see. No, I don't have to see it. You know why? Because I don't see a video of the Patrick Mahomes 3 turnover game, and I don't see any other breakdowns of any other QBs who are stinking it up and you explaining their mistakes or calling them the problem or saying Mahomes is the problem. You know why you wouldn't dare say that? So I'm not watching that. I can't watch it when I know that it's disingenuous and it's meant, just like everything else, as a way to turn the knife into the Eagles' backs and to cause everybody, be it fan or casual, to look at the Eagles in a different way than they should be looked at. I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. Now, our fans. Okay. I get you say, put Tanner McKee in. Now, I want to preface this by saying every fan has a right to think the way they want to think, right? Everybody. You free will is God-given. So if you think Tanner McKee is a better option, okay, you just say, hey, I want something different. But what is Tanner McKee going to do different than Jalen Hurts that they can't just do for Jalen Hurts? Because guess what? They're not going to call the same plays for Tanner McKee. They're not going to run the same offense for Tanner McKee. So what you're not getting is a fair comparison. Because then if you were to put Hurts in the situation where you change up the offense, which is what we've been begging for, which is what we've been asking them to do, is, hey, this offense stinks. This scheme stinks. We're not running people open. We're not throwing people open. We're not scheming people open. We're not doing right on the runs. All they're going to do with Tanner McKee is say, you're not Jalen Hurts. You're not a runner. We can't call design runs for you. We can't do this for you. You are a different player. So we're going to change everything up for you. And then you may see some success. You know why you may see some success is because now the defenses have no idea what's coming. But that's the exact problem that we're getting at. So Jalen Hurts isn't a Jalen Hurts problem. It's an offensive problem, a totality of an offensive problem. Drop passes or overthrown passes. Like I said, there's no one place that we're going to put this. It's on everybody. False starts, penalties, holding, blown coverage. Everybody's got a piece in this pie. Everybody's eating in this pot. It's not a Jalen Hurts problem. Are you guys, even though I think you have a right to an opinion, I also think that you're crazy in this. Jalen Hurts has been the best producing quarterback that our franchise has ever had. God bless, I love McNabb. I love Joss. I love Cunningham. I love Vic. I love Foles. And when Wentz was good before he got hurt, he was magnificent. I love our QBs who produced for us, who gave us amazing moments in history that we can look back on, and Donovan and all of those guys. I think I may have said McNabb, but I'm just covering my bases. I love all these QBs, okay? But only Donovan, Foles, and Hurts have put us in a position to win Super Bowls. Donovan lost by 3 to Brady. Foles beat Brady by 8. Hurts lost to Mahomes by 3 and beat Mahomes. We know it was 40-22, but really 40-6. Mahomes was, Hurts and the starters were on the bench. They weren't. They were over there chilling. They were opening the Super Bowl champion boxes of gear on the sideline, picking up that stuff, while Mahomes is still on the field throwing for touchdowns and getting points. Okay, our defense and our offensive stars were not out there. I don't want to hear it. And now, a couple of months after that, where Mahomes is 6-7, and obviously it's not just him. There's problems all over the place because there's some problems with him with throwing, but there's problems all over the place where his receivers and his offensive line, his defense. It's a team sport. He's got team problems over there in Chiefs Kingdom. We have a team problem over here. Not so much the defense, other than the penalties here and there, but as a core, the defense is great. They allow very few points. They make big stops. They hold teams to like field goals or very little points for long stretches. The defense really isn't the problem. It's our offense. But you want to take our best quarterback and get rid of him? You want to bench him? You want to say, might be time to draft a QB. Might be time to say Hurts is the problem. What are you guys on? We're not hearing that about any of these other QBs. Baker Mayfield, who like they call the Big Show. The man has not been to a Super Bowl, but he's always rated high. Always rated above Hurts. I'm trying to think of who else are we looking at in here? Let me go back to all the games. Big Show, I just mentioned that. Ravens and Bengals who play next week. We already talked about their QBs. CJ Stroud on the Texans. You're not hearing that. They have a worse record than the Eagles, but they're starting to win now. There's a recency bias. There's a what have you done for me lately thing going on that I can't stand with this newer generation. And it's not to say that some of the old heads aren't saying the same thing, because some of my other Eagles fans that are older are complaining. But I just don't get it. All the man's done for you. And the same thing with Nick Sirianni, the winningest head coach that we've ever had. One of the winningest coaches in history based on his tenure. And you want to get rid of the man. Now, you say get rid of him because he hasn't changed Kevin Patullo, which I agree with. I don't know what's going on with that. But I have to take it to a corporate thing, right? This for us is entertainment. But it's really a business. These are these people's jobs. These are these people's livelihoods. And when you're at work and you just got the job, they tend not to just fire you, even if you are doing it, especially when you're 8-5. They tend not to do it. Okay, they're like, let's wait and see. What do we really have with this guy? Where's the real problem? Is it his scheme? Is it this? He might be going after this year, and I think he will be, because that's just the Eagles' way. New OC every year. We should have kept Kellen Moore. Kellen, I don't know why you went down to the Saints. More money, I guess. It's always about the money. Whatever. I don't hear talks for CJ Stroud. Listen, they're just finally talking about doing this to Kyler Murray. But Kyler hasn't been doing anything. Patriots have a new one. Justin Herbert, he played great. He's playing with that hand. I gave him mad props yesterday. I think even though his stats weren't good, I'm not really a stats person. I'm looking at him. I'm saying, man, your hand is messed up. You're doing what you can to win this game, so it's not really, no problem there. Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, they're in the playoffs now, but he's been abysmal. He's been nowhere near on the level of Jalen Hurts, but you don't hear those talks over there. Caleb's new. Shador's new. Jaden's new. Dart is new. Who's on Panthers? Bryce Young. He's not that great, but they're 7-6. Saints, Shaw's new. Jared Goff. Now we do hear this about Jared Goff. We call him Jared Goof. You know, he was traded from the Rams to the Lions, but it's you do hear the talks every now and then that he's not the guy. I don't hear talks about benching him, but you do hear talks about that he's not that guy sometimes. So we'll be fair. We do hear that kind of talk. Rams have Stafford, the All-American. Everybody loves Stafford. Colts have Daniel Jones, but he's hurt. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks are doing exactly what the Vikings did last year. Okay, and he was their QB. They were tied with the best record with the Lions. Didn't get a home game. They complained about changing the whole rules because their record was so good. And they said another division's record was worse, which is going to be the same thing this year. The Seahawks will probably have tie with the Rams for the best record. And because they're in the Rams division, they'll be 5. They'll be 5. But you have the Sam Darnold problem there. Will he turn into pumpkin mode when it comes time for the playoffs? Because the last game of the season where he could have got the number 1 seed, he looked terrible. That was the seed game against the Lions. He looked terrible. And the first game of the playoffs, he looked horrible. And they were one and done. They were out. We don't know if we're going to get that from him. We'll have to wait and see. But you don't hear these talks about him only because they're winning. But people forget. People have this mental lapse. They just forget what happened. Just like they forget all the productivity that Hurts has given to this team. One of the best QBs out there. I still think he's the number 2 QB in the league. Honestly. I am not about to say Drake May and Bo Nix are better QBs than Hurts because they won this year. Show me, what have I said? Show me the years. I did this breakdown before where I took Josh, Joe, Lamar, and Mahomes and put them with Hurts over their first 4 years. Give me 4 years of Bo Nix doing this. Give me 4 years of, I forget the Patriots quarterback doing that. Give me 4 years of them making the playoffs. 4 years, 2 of those they better be in the Super Bowl, and 1 they have better won the Super Bowl before I'm ready to elevate them to Jalen Hurts level. You need consistency. You can't give me 1 year. Look at Jaden Daniels. He had 1 year where he was in the NFC Championship, and it's over. They're back to 3 and whatever the record is. They got 3 wins. Everybody was crowning him. Everybody had him above Jalen Hurts. Everybody. Because people are only looking at the now and not over the body of work, which is ridiculous to me. That's a crazy way to look at something. Sustained performance has to outweigh what's going on right now. You can have bad years. You can have down years. The Patriots had a decade where they were not the league's boogeyman, but then they came back and they were. Now, Brady was always decent in those years, but they weren't the worry of the league. They weren't the evil empire during that time frame. As long as Jalen Hurts can stay healthy, he can not go to the Super Bowl this year and come back next year and win it. But he's going through amazing win streaks. Amazing streaks of getting to the playoffs, amazing times of putting his teams in position to win, not caring about how it gets done. All of these make Jalen Hurts absolutely fantastic. This is a whole team problem as a whole, where we have to plug all the holes in order to get things right. This is not a Jalen Hurts one-man problem. If Tanner McKee threw the ball to A.J. Brown and A.J. drops it, what are you just going to say? It's not Tanner, it's A.J.? A.J.'s an amazing player. He had a bad game. Now, I will say, to be fair, he's been targeted more. He's got more balls. He hasn't been complaining. He's part of the process now, but we're losing. I'm not saying it's because of him. But what I'm saying is, when you look back at it, the complaint now from AJ should be we're not winning. We need to win. Or what needs to change now that we've got you involved that we need to win? Because winning is what's going to get us to where we need to be, because now the Cowboys could catch us. If the Cowboys went out and we keep losing, they will replace us as the NFC East representative in the playoffs, be it 3 or 4 seed. They will go to the playoffs and we will miss it because there's too many teams that will have better records than us, so we won't be 5, 6, or 7. There's too many other teams with better records. And we'll be at home. Now that I don't want. I don't want to ever miss the playoffs. Even if we lose in the first round, I don't want to ever miss it. Now, the Cowboys still have to play that Chargers team. We'll see how they fare against them. And I bet that they fare decently against them because that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And then what people will say is, look, the Cowboys are better than the Eagles, which is a fallacy. They're not. The Cowboys are not better than the Eagles. And Dak Prescott is not better than Jalen Hurts. I don't care if he hasn't had a 4 interception game. I don't care about anything. Dak Prescott has had a decade to get to the NFC Championship with Super Bowl winning caliber teams. He doesn't have them every year, but he's had them. 3 seasons of 12-5 back to back do not come easily. Tell me how many teams have been able to pull that off, 12-5, 3 seasons in a row. That is very difficult. I'm not saying Dak is a bum. I've given him praise. He's a regular season quarterback, but he is not a bright lights quarterback. Okay? In those seasons, he did not make it to the NFC Championship. He did not make it to the Super Bowl, obviously by proxy. He has not won a Super Bowl, obviously by proxy. He is not better than Jalen Hurts. None of these guys are. I don't care what Jalen just did in this game. He had a bad game. Or a mid game. I won't even call it bad. I call it mid because all of the problems weren't his. When you listen to how people talk about the game, they start to talk about all the things that are out of Jalen Hurts' control. Drop passes or penalties or, all the things that don't involve him that ended up ruining the game for us. Now, we will say that he lost the game for us at the end. I will absolutely say that. He should not have thrown that ball. I don't know if that was his decision or the play call. Whoever it was, he shouldn't have done it. He should have gone to Goddard or they should have been running it. I wholeheartedly agree with everybody on that. That cost us the game. We had 2 minutes, almost 3 minutes. We were at the 1-17. We're first down at the 17, excuse me. You got that game. You run it. You do everything. You got everything ahead of you. So in that instance, yes, that cost us the game. No doubt about it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But so what? Josh has cost their team the game. Josh has cost their team the chance to advance to AFC Championship and to the Super Bowl. So is Lamar. So is Mahomes. So what? You guys are nuts. You guys are crazy, in my opinion. There's no way that Hurts is the problem or that we should be having this discussion on getting rid of Hurts. What we need to be doing is exactly what Saquon, this is how I'm going to end this. Saquon had an interview after the game. We don't need to point fingers. I've said this multiple times. I'm so glad he said this. We don't need to point fingers. We don't need to get on the blame game. We don't need to be down and out on ourselves. We don't need to be worried about our record. We don't need to be worried about who's chasing us and who's coming up close to us and putting extra pressure on our heads. All we need to do is focus on getting better. And I believe that game was a step in the right direction to getting better. He said this beautifully in his interview, and I applaud him for this. No mistakes. No, what do you call it? Excuses. No excuses. Just do better. Everybody come together and get it right. You have the film on the teams. Study the film on the teams, what they do, how they act. You know how they react. You know that they have the film on you. Do something different. Come up with a whole new game plan. If you have to take that playbook and throw it in the toilet and pull out a 1980s Eagles playbook, whatever you got to do that to win these next games, as many of them as you possibly can. I think at least 3 of them, but hopefully all 4 of them, and go to the postseason with that formula and go and win it all. Fly, Eagles, fly. Go Birds.